Hey, how's it going? It is your Muscle After 40 coach, Lee Hayward. And in this video, I'm going to share a group Zoom coaching call that I did with the members of the Muscle After 40 Blueprint coaching program. And we do a deep dive into the top 10 ways to bust out of a rut with your fitness and fat loss progress. So if you feel that you're stuck, you need some help, then make sure to watch this video to the end because you're bound to get some valuable tips and insights that will help you to get moving forward again. And joining me on our Zoom call, we have Paul Miller and Mike Brown. Now, Paul's from Alberta, Canada, and he turned his life around at the age of 62 after almost dying from a heart attack. And now, after going through the Muscle After 40 Blueprint program, at age 69, Paul is in the best shape of his life, and he's passing on what he's learned by teaching a Fitness with Friends seniors group through his local church. So I think that's just awesome because, not only has he improved his life, he's inspiring his friends and family, but in turn, he's helping to share what he's learned and pass that on to the members of his church as well. And we also have Mike Brown from Atlanta, Georgia. Mike only started working out back in 2020 at the age of 56. So for those of you who are thinking, hey, I'm too old to start working out, Paul started in his 60s. Mike started in his 50s. You can do this regardless of age. And now, just a few years later, Mike is in the best shape of his life with ripped abdominal definition after following the Muscle After 40 Blueprint coaching program. So they'll be joining me for the Zoom call. And this is something that we do within the Muscle After 40 VIP coaching program. Every single week, we have a group coaching call where we do a deep dive into various topics related to health and fitness and wellness and helping our members maximize their progress. So sit back, enjoy, and if you do have any questions or comments or feedback, please feel free to let me know. Post them down in the comments below, or you can reach out to me through my email, lee@leehayward.com, or reach out to me through Facebook. Just search for Lee Hayward on Facebook and send me a message through there, and we can have a chat. All right, enjoy the video.
Good evening. Welcome to our group call. This is our group Zoom coaching call for March 26th. It's crazy. We're almost through March already. We got Mike joining in over in Japan. I respect that, Mike. Making it on vacation and still tuning in for the coaching call, making it work. I forgot to ask, what time is it? It's morning, I would assume.
Yeah, it's 7 in the morning here.
7 in the morning. Wow. Okay, so you're virtually the complete opposite. I'm right now at 7:49 p.m. Newfoundland time.
Yeah, so we're 7:49 or whatever.
So you're not 49.
Yeah.
So you're shortly after 7, because Newfoundland is one of these places has this wonderful half-hour time zone.
Right.
So my calendar's on the half hour. Good morning. That's to Mike.
Good morning.
So this is Monday morning. Wow. Okay.
Yep.
Awesome. I always like to start these calls with, well, what are some wins for you this week? What are some things that went well? And I'll jump in and start. One thing that's went well, and I'm currently in the final week of the Precision Nutrition Master Health certification. So it's crazy. It's been 20 weeks I've been doing this course. So we came to our final week of teaching. And now this week we have our final exam. I have to finish up any outstanding assignments. And then that's the core part of the program. And then after that, we can do some advanced level teaching beyond that if we choose to. And of course I choose to because I want to pursue excellence with this, and that requires some one-on-one mentoring with the coaches at Precision Nutrition, and then some one-on-one coaching calls with them. So I will kind of the test for the advanced level after going through several mentoring sessions one-on-one is I will have to coach them. So they'll play the student and I'll be the coach and have to take them through a whole coaching scenario. It's a high level coaching because I've learned a lot. Even though I figure I've been doing this for over 30 years, I should know what I'm doing. I've learned a lot, and there's a lot of things that I've not necessarily that it was bad or wrong, but things that could have been improved upon. And that's one of the things I've really learned with this program is even when we're doing our assignments and our final exam and everything else, sometimes there are multiple choice questions. There might be 4 answers. 4 of them, you could make an argument they're right, but one of them is more right than the others. And this is real world scenarios, especially when it comes to coaching. And before we actually started this recording, all of us were kind of chatting about different approaches to fitness. And they could be all right. Like you could make an argument that, hey, this approach to fitness or this approach to nutrition is right, but in certain circumstances, one could be more right than another. And that's where this can really get a bit confusing. And that's where higher level coaching, higher level training, and everything else, and having that greater level of awareness really comes into play. So that's what I've learned through the Master Health Certification. And it goes beyond just the eat right exercise type of approach that most fitness coaches and gurus and everything else preach. It really takes it to that higher level. So I'm coming to the end of that certification, or again, to the end of that training, I should say. I mean, it's a never ending process, but that's my big win for the week. How about you, Mike? I mean, a win for you this week is you're across the globe.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and one thing that I did, because I am that crazy person, I took my own food with me on the airplane. So I literally took a lunch bag and I had 3 servings of chicken and 3 servings of pasta. So our layover was in Dallas. I had 1 meal there. On the plane, I had 2 more, but survived. 17 hours on an airplane is not a fun time for me, but we handled it.
Wow. 17 hours on the plane.
Yeah. The flight from Atlanta to Dallas is about 2.5 hours, and then 13 and a half from Dallas to Tokyo.
Jeez. That's
and then we walk over and go on a cruise ship in a couple of hours. So it's all worth it. This is theoretically my rest day, so it just happened to work out that way.
Awesome. Well, that's a big win for sure. Planning ahead. I love that. I mean, you knew what you were going to be up against. You knew the challenges and you prepared for those challenges in advance. So yeah, that is a big win. And how about you, Paul? You're joining in again. It's always great to have you joining in our group coaching calls. So what's one big win for you this week that you're proud of?
To be honest, being here is a win for me. And it may sound very dramatic, but on the Friday before last Sunday's coaching call, I was boiling some water for my tea, and I miscalculated, or I just somehow the kettle slipped from my hand, and all of the boiling water fell on my right foot. Ooh. And I'm not very first aid aware, and so I thought, I know what I'll do. I'll just be strong and courageous and let that pain go right through my body, and I'll let the water soak up my socks, soak up all the water, not knowing that was the worst thing to do. So when I got to the gym, the boil that was underneath had popped. It had gone into the sock. It was very painful to get it off. So this last week, I have been nursing a burned or scalded foot and sleeping very little. So the win for me was getting to the place where I could start sleeping. And it made me even more sensitive to the fact of how important sleep is for our fitness journey. So underrated, but I felt it firsthand, the difference between very, very little sleep and getting more and more and better sleep, and the condition, the effects it has on your body. So my biggest win was being able to be here to share that with you, that when we were talking about sleep last week and how important it is, I lived it. And it was firsthand experience, and it was a very good win for me, because we sometimes underrate or overrate sleep. Like, I'll get a couple hours, I'll be fine. No. And so that was very, very important for me as part of my fitness journey is concerned. The fitness class, we've again gone up by 2 more members. So now we're at a roster of 20. So it's very, very, that's really a wonderful thing. And we practiced some of the exercises that have to do with mobility bands, because I really couldn't walk. So I did a lot of in-chair station, like if you're incapacitated and you need to stay in a chair. So we did a lot of those resistance band stretching exercises, staying in your chair exercises. And it worked out very well for a lot of them, because some of them find it very difficult to walk around the gym for their walk and raising their legs up high and balance. So that turned out to be very well. Nutrition, as far as my nutrition is concerned, staying within a good weight, and I'm feeling my stomach less pinching against my pants. And it's yeah. So I've learned a very important lesson. So out of all of those failures, I've learned some, or disappointments or struggles, I've learned some fabulous lessons. And how the idea of like, just because it says that this is a good meal plan doesn't necessarily mean it will work for you, and has to be customized, and you have to understand your own metabolism and what works well and what doesn't work well. But protein is high and I'm doing okay. So there you go. I have had an
Thank you.
excellent week despite all of the stuff I've gone through.
Thanks for sharing that, Paul. And that actually fits in very nicely to some of the slides that I put together here today, because with each of these coaching calls, I like to have a topic of discussion to dive into. And today, this was something that was shared with me from my coach. And it's basically 10 ways to get yourself out of a rut. We've all had our ruts. And Paul, you've went through one, and I love how you've learned from it and you've actually reframed it in a positive manner. Like you've actually took that setback and reframed it in a way of, one, now it makes you more aware of just how important sleep is, because when you are sleep deprived, it really brings awareness to that. And another thing that I love is you use that as a great example of how you can stay fit when you're not able to get up and move around or walk for your coaching students that you have in your fitness group at church. So your fitness with friends group, I think that's great. So I mean, you're using these examples because a lot of people, they're doing the opposite. Like they're looking for an excuse to quit, or an excuse to not take action. Oh, I scalded my foot. That's perfectly good reason to not exercise, not to do anything this week. I scalded my foot. But you did the opposite. Okay, I did scald my foot, but what can I do? Right? Like, so, okay, you can do some exercises where you're not on your foot, seated exercises and things like that. So it's kind of bright spot tracking. And this is a topic that we cover within the whole Master Health certification, is looking for those bright spots. And this was a game changer. And before I actually get into the presentation, I'll just share that. The reason I'm asking this to share your wins, what's went well, this is huge, because when you start looking for what's going well, it reprograms your mind to look for things that are going well. Whereas if I just ask somebody, how are things going? Like, this is a typical scenario. Like if I have a one-on-one coaching call with somebody, and I used to do this, this was a mistake of mine. How are things going? And then they just, go into, oh, this is wrong and that's wrong, and I didn't get this done and that's thing, and I'm stressed at work and blah. They just start doing a dump of everything that's gone wrong. And I actually, I became accustomed to that, because I have certain coaching students who are, that's just the way they are. I mean, I'd always say, how are things going? And they'd automatically just go on a big old rant of everything that's going wrong. Vent, vent, vent. And it's very stressful and frustrating for me, coaching student after coaching student, call after call, to have to listen to people's woes. But then how do you turn that around? I always felt like I was trying to fix things. Whereas just changing the thing, like instead of asking how are things going, what went well? What are some of your highlights over the past week? And I remember, I'm not going to mention names now, but there's one guy in our group, the first time I asked him that, he was almost like shocked. He was stood back, because instead of me just asking him how things are going, I said, hey, what went well this week? What are some highlights? What are you proud of? And he had this like, whoa, highlights. Well, and he stopped and he was like stumped in these tracks for a while. And then all of a sudden he said, well, I did this right, and that went well, and this actually went pretty good, and blah, blah. And next thing you know, he's like, wow, I actually had a pretty good week, instead of focusing on all the things that he wanted to complain about, right? It's just, where do you place your focus? So focusing on building our strengths, building your strengths stronger than always trying to fix your weaknesses, is a powerful strategy. 10 ways to get out of a rut. They're not necessarily in a specific order, but we're just going to jump right into them. And one is to focus forward, or fail forward. We can't control our circumstances. So in Paul's case, for example, like he couldn't control, well, I guess he probably could have if he was more careful, but hopefully he'll be more careful in the future. But you can't control the fact that he burned his foot with the hot water from the kettle, right? I mean, that happened. But he can focus on what he can control from that, and his attitude and his ability to take action. So I love how he reframed it, and I acknowledged that earlier. A quote here from Victor Kayam is, even if you fall on your face, you're still moving forward. So focusing on failing forward and learning from your mistakes, learning from that. And failure is not a bad thing. In fact, it's one of the best teachers we have. So when you fail, and it's bound to happen, we're bound to have failures, we're bound to have setbacks, we're bound to have shit hit the fan, pardon my French, but that's just a good way to put it. When it happens, Smile, be humbled by the experience, forgive yourself, learn from your mistakes, and move forward. Focus on moving forward. Don't let that be the excuse or the reason to slow you down. Another step here that we can take to get out of a rut is to focus on changing your state. This is one that, if you've ever studied Tony Robbins, this is one that he always says, the fastest way to change your attitude is just to change your state. And when he means this is your physical state. So get up, move, jump, go for a walk, work out, listen to some inspiring music, a podcast, a sermon, or whatever, and focus on just changing your physical state. And this is my go-to. Whenever I get stuck in a rut, I'm frustrated, I'm stressed, things are not going my way, I'll stop what I'm doing and I go exercise, whether it's going for a walk, whether it's going for a bike ride, whether it's going to the gym. But that's my default. Like, some people reach for the bottle, some people reach for recreational drugs, some people reach for food or something. They have their crutch that they reach for. Some people reach for the television remote and they're going to distract themselves with that. Some people, it's video games. Like, we all have our distraction of choice, whatever it is we're going to try and numb our pain with or numb our woes with. But if you can find a positive avenue to do that, and for me, it's exercise. So whenever I'm in a funk, whenever I'm stuck in a rut, whenever things are not going my way, I say, that's it. I got to exercise. And I reach for my sneakers. That's my go-to. And that's part of the reason why I exercise so darn much, because I know in advance that that's my stress relief. Because, I mean, let's face it. I mean, stress, we all deal with it to some degree or another. And in my case, I've got an ADHD son you can probably hear him in the background sometimes. He's out there running around going a nuts and mile a minute. I've got stress with business. I got stress with my rental property business and things we're going through, family issues and all that. There's lots of stress. There's no shortage of stress. And I'm sure if I asked everybody, they have their own sources of stress. How do you deal with it? For me, I deal with it through exercise. And I find that after I exercise, it makes me feel so much better. And then I can come back and deal with that stress in a better state of mind, in a fresher state of mind. So change your state, change your story. Again, that's a common one that Tony Robbins recommended. Another one that we can do here, changing your environment. And this was a few coaching calls back. We actually did a deep dive into environment. I believe myself and Mike did this one, focusing on how your environment impacts your results. And there's a lot of things. Obviously, Mike's in a totally new environment now. He's in a different country, a different part of the world. So that certainly changes things up. But this can change if you're stuck in a rut with your regular routine. You feel like you're in a rut, you're in a funk, you kind of want to change things up. Simple things. Like, for me, one thing that I always did is try new gyms. I found, like, if my workout started to go stale, I would join a new gym. Even if I did the exact same routine at a different gym, that would spur on new growth because there's new enthusiasm from the different environment. There's different people. The equipment, even though I'm doing the same exercises, it could feel different because one brand of exercise equipment may feel totally different and provide unique muscle stimulation compared to another brand. So just that new environment very often would equal better gains. And I used to find that within my first few months of joining a new gym, I would see my fitness improve just from that different environment, different training equipment. And there's other things you can do. I mean, when it comes to your eating, trying different restaurants. And these days we have a lot of health conscious restaurants available. I mean, in most major cities, you have these options available. So for people who are eating out a lot, you can still eat out, but let's eat out at healthier places. Other things that you can do to change things up is to take a different route, whether that's traveling to work or if you're out going for walks or jogs or bicycle rides, take a different route just to change things up with that. With your work, a different workspace. I mean, in my case, where I work from home, sometimes I like to change it up. And instead of doing work from home, I may go to the library. I may go to a coffee shop. I may go somewhere else, and just a different change in environment can help to spur on new creative juices and just get you out of that same old routine that very often we can get stuck in. So this is something, I mean, obviously, Mike, I know you're into a different environment right now as we speak, so that you're going to have a lot of change over the next little while. But is this something like you guys can relate to? Like, have you ever done this yourself? Like, find that changing things up has helped to spur on new progress or get you out of a rut?
It was essential for me as a parent to do that, not just simply
Okay.
as a fitness follower or as a fitness influencer, but I had to constantly find ways to change my environment because of those very reasons, because of children bring their own unique stress environments with them, and each child is different, each situation, each day is different. Children going through puberty and then the teenage years and all those fun things can really add in intense amounts of pressure. So I learned as a parent to do this. Now, it's unfortunate that I did not learn how to use it for exercise. I chose food. I would go to a fast food restaurant or a coffee shop and would hide there, or would dive into my Kentucky Fried Chicken bucket. And that's how I dealt with my environment. So the key is, yes, change your environment, but change it so that it accentuates your health rather than simply guarding you or protecting you against the stress. Because you can change, you can go to a different restaurant, yes, but is that really helping your health journey? So since I have been on a very different health journey when I'm having stress, I don't go to the coffee shop. I don't go to Tim Hortons to get my donut. I will go to the park. I will connect with nature. I will put on my parka and go for a walk in a blizzard. And I've been out in them just simply to get to my environment. So I agree with the changing of environments, provided that it underscores or it supports your fitness lifestyle, because you can change your environment where it works against you.
Absolutely. That's a great point. Thank you for sharing that, Paul. It's a very powerful point to make. And a lot of this stuff, when we all the things that I mentioned here, you have to look at it from the positive, because I mean, hey, yeah, we could change, and we could change our environment, we could change our state, but we could change it for the worse. We want to change it for the better. But it's a good point to bring up for sure. How about you, Mike? I mean, if you anything like this resonates for you, or any comments or feedback you want to share?
Yeah, well, I definitely changed the gym, because the one gym I was working out at, I was frustrated with, not with the equipment so much, but some of the people that were there. And I joined not a newer gym, but a new gym that's closer to my house, and it's much smaller. They don't have as much equipment, but there's not as many people there, so I can get my workout done without delay and without silliness going on, and that sort of thing. So that it does make a difference in my personal happiness and my mood, and getting my workouts done efficiently without leaving in a foul mood because I was mad about something. So yeah, the change in the gym, and like you said, the difference in equipment, because I now belong to 3 different gyms, plus have my own in the basement, and of course all of those different locations have different brands of equipment. And it's like, yeah, I know when I go up to the lake house, their lateral raise machine is more difficult, just the way it's constructed. So I know I'm going to have to use lighter weight, but then I also know, hey, let's push this a little bit, and see if we can make an improvement on using that particular machine.
That's a great point for sure. I mean, the different gyms, and I like how you acknowledged it's not just the equipment; it's also the atmosphere, meaning the members, the busyness, and when we talk about change, if needed, sometimes we may need to change our workout times, because a lot of
Yeah.
people, if you're doing you're going to the gym after work, like that 4 to 6 p.m. time frame, which is usually the peak hours for most fitness centers, is between 4 and 6 p.m. That could be very problematic depending on the gym and how busy it is. Right? I mean, like, fortunately, the gym that I train at now, it's a fairly large facility, it's over 10,000 square feet, and even though they do have good membership, it's not to the point where it's ever crazy busy. Like, I've never had this situation where I haven't been able to get a good workout in at any time. But with that being said, most of the time I do my workouts mid-morning. And right then, that's kind of like the perfect time, because it's past the early morning rush. Because usually there's 2 rush hours in the gym. There's the before work, people trying to get to the gym before they go to work. And that's the smallest rush hour, if you will, and then the biggest rush hour is after work. But if you can get in there between those times, usually it's no problem at all. Or if you go later in the evening, it usually starts to die down as well. But then when you go later in the evening, then that creates a whole new issue when it comes to sleep and trying to unwind afterwards.
Right.
So mid morning for me is the kind of that sweet spot. But with that being said, hey, sometimes you got to make it work. So morning, noon, or night. I don't have a set time where I have to work out. Like if it doesn't fit one time, hey, I'd much rather work out in the evening than not get it done at all. But ideally, it will be in the morning, mid-morning for me. All right, here's another one that I want to jump into, and this is a big one: journaling. And this kind of goes back to the topic I was mentioning before, sharing our wins. Is at the end of each day, it's nice to just reflect on 3 things that went well that day, and even if they're small wins. And this will help to put you in a state of gratitude and humbleness. And a nice little quote there is: to celebrate the small wins, and you'll unleash a huge amount of momentum and positive energy. And this is something that a lot of people don't emphasize enough. We tend to focus on what's going wrong, what's not going well, what we want to fix, but just to celebrate what's going well. Bright spot tracking. And this has been a big thing. And again, the Master Health Certification program that I'm going through, they really emphasize this. Focus on what's going well. And that helps to draw attention to more things that are going well. Like we seek out what we look for. So, I mean, if you look for things that are going wrong, you're going to find a lot of things that are going wrong. Hence the reason I don't watch the news. Because a lot of people, when I talk to like when I say normal folks, like friends and family and neighbors and all that, and they start saying, oh, did you see the terrible floods and the terrible storms and the terrible this and the terrible that? And I say, I don't know what you're talking about. Oh, it was all over the news. I say, I don't watch the news. I always say, if something is truly newsworthy and it deserves my attention, somebody will tell me about it. Somebody like you who's watching the news will tell me about it. But I don't need to be bogged down with the depression that the news media wants to put out there. Like, oh, there was somebody shot in Timbuktu, and there was a flood, and there was a this. And I mean, if it has no impact on me, and I cannot do anything to help it, I don't need to be bothered by all that negativity, right? So I'm very selective of what I let into my realm, into my personal space when it comes to that. But I always like to focus on things that are going well. Look for what's going well, and you'll find more things to celebrate and more things that are going well. And another change of state here as well is to focus on building your strengths stronger instead of trying to make your weaknesses, fixing your weaknesses, I should say. A lot of times we focus on like, oh, I want to fix what's broken. And I mean, if it's something that is a serious issue, I mean, there is a time and a place for that for sure. But a lot of times it's building our strengths stronger. That's really going to bring out our unique abilities and help to take things to the next level. Instead of trying to take something that we're not good at and make it okay, take something that we're naturally good at and make it great, make it exceptional. Make your strengths stronger instead of always trying to make your weaknesses stronger. And that's where you really sometimes find your true passion and your true purpose and what you can really add a lot of value with. But again, reporting on what's going well. And it's nice to do that either in a journal or even if it's just a mental recap at the end of the day. And to follow along with that, so another thing here is to remember, why are we doing this in the first place? When it comes to our fitness goals, why? And Precision Nutrition has an exercise which they call the 5 whys exercise. And I've went through this myself, and I encourage all of our coaching students to go through it. And it's simply, why are you doing this? Like the big thing, like let's just say the example here, I'm not sure how big this is coming through on your screen, but it says like, why do I want to change my eating and exercise habits? Because I want to lose weight. I mean, that's a surface level answer. I want to lose weight. Well, why do you want to lose weight? Because I want my clothes to fit better. Right? Okay, it's a bit deeper, but it's still kind of a surface level answer. Well, why do you want your clothes to fit better? Because I want to feel proud of who I am. Okay, now we're getting a bit deeper, a bit more substance to it. Well, why do you want to feel proud of who you are? Living in a way that makes me feel proud to living in a way that makes me proud to be me means living a long and healthy life. Okay, now we're really getting deeper. Well, why is it important to live a long, healthy life? There's more that I want to accomplish, and I'm scared I won't be around for my kids when they need me the most. So we went from I want to lose weight to I want to be a positive role model for my family and for my kids and be around. Like it goes multiple layers. Like each time it's like peeling back the layers of an onion. Each time you ask yourself why. And that's a very typical answer. I mean, I'll actually share mine. I went through this and I wrote a blog post about my 5 whys. And I'll just share it with you here. because this is something I encourage everyone to do if you haven't already done so. So this is up on my blog posts on my blog, leehayward.com. If you just do a search for how to stay motivated to lose weight, the 5 whys. If you just do a search for Lee Hayward 5 whys, it should pop up. But down here, I did my 5 whys exercise, and I'm just going to review them here. So here's my 5 whys. Why do you want to lose weight and get back in shape? Because I want to lose fat, improve my health, and maintain a lean body year round. That was my surface level answer. Why is that important? So I can look lean and athletic and feel good about myself. I don't like being fat and overweight, and I want to look like a fitness coach who actually takes care of his health and fitness. So if you're familiar with my story, I went through a phase where I was the fat, out of shape fitness coach. So I didn't want to be the fat, out of shape fitness coach. Why is that important? I want people to respect me. I want to look attractive. I want to be able to hold my head high and stand out as someone who's in shape, positive, healthy, energetic, and fit, rather than feel embarrassed and self-conscious about being fat. Right? I didn't want to have that. Why is that important? I want to feel more confident about myself and be able to do the things right now that I don't feel comfortable in doing. I won't be embarrassed to take my shirt off because right now I'm ashamed to go to the swimming pool. I'm ashamed to go to the beach on vacation. I don't even want to get changed in the gym locker room or let my wife see me naked because I feel so embarrassed about how fat I've let myself become. This is stuff that I actually wrote down when I was at my rock bottom. All that stuff is true. I was literally, I would be in the locker room at the gym with a sweaty t-shirt on, and I would just put my jacket on and go home with a soaking wet sweaty t-shirt because I didn't want to get changed because I was embarrassed. Like the guys at the gym are going to see this fat out of shape guy who's supposedly a fitness coach and he's got a website and, you know, trying to teach people how to be in shape, and he's not even practicing what he preaches. And that was me. I was ashamed to change in the locker room at the gym, so I didn't want people to see me. Or if I did, I'd go lock myself in the stall in the bathroom and change there where nobody could see me. I was so embarrassed about it. And even going to bed with my t-shirt on, so I didn't want my wife to be poking me in the belly or see my fat pudgy belly. Right? I mean, that's the reality. And again, why is it important to change that? Like, you take it another level deeper. And it says, I'll be able to enjoy living my life to the fullest and do the things I want to do without feeling shame, guilt, or embarrassment. Have more energy and confidence, set a positive example for my son Harvey, and I don't want him to grow up with a fat, out of shape dad and think that it's okay to let himself be fat. I want to lead by example so that my son grows up with healthy lifestyle habits right from the start. So that goes deep. That's something that's personal, and it has meaning, and it resonates with me much more than I want to lose weight and get back in shape. Like, that's such a surface level bleh. Like you have to find what is it. And once you go through this exercise and you really dig down to what it is, that's going to motivate you. Like, you're going to find motivation is when you go through that exercise. So again, remember why you're doing this. In those times when you're struggling, in those times when I don't feel like doing it today. Oh, this is too hard. Whatever. When things start to go wrong, I always go back. Why are you doing this? Right? If you've done that 5 whys exercise, it'd be a good idea to write it out and you know, pull that out when you like, that's your safety net. So like, read that over, and that'll help you to refocus on why you're doing this and keep you on track. Follow along with that one. First off, before I jump, have you guys done the 5 whys exercise?
Yes. Yeah. And I'm going through precision nutrition the second time, and I just did this. You wind up doing the 5 whys at least twice during that year-long program.
Mm-hmm.
And I just did it the second time earlier this week.
Nice. How about you, Paul? Have you done this exercise or something similar?
I'm trying to get back to where you are, but can you hear me?
Yes.
And can you see me?
Yes, we can hear you and see you. Did we lose you
Okay,
for a
good.
while?
Yeah, my computer kind of went wonky for a second here.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I'll get it fixed. I remember when we had our interview, we talked about what is my why, and I said staying alive is my big why, and I said that's a big why. Yeah, it's a big why.
Mm-hmm.
But I've since, after our conversation, thought more deeply about it, and the why goes much like concerned about my wider community, not just simply my family, but my church, my friends at the gym, the people that I'm encountering on Facebook. Being healthy for those people brings me a greater sense of urgency to stay well for myself. When I don't, I feel, and I don't mean to say this in a negative way, but I said, when I don't, I feel a sense of, I'm losing the sense of responsibility, being responsible for those around me, not just me for my own health, but it extends. And that I've carried that. People have written and said how inspiring I am. Well, that puts a significant note of responsibility on one's shoulder, or a significant weight of responsibility on one's shoulders. And so I'm now not just simply exercising for myself, but exercising to model, this is what it's like to enjoy a successful, fit life, or a wellness experience, a wellness environment.
Nice.
That's what I'm thinking through. So my whys are not just simply for my own happiness or sense of, well, Maslow's self-actualization, but that I'm becoming a full person, but it extends out into a broader community. And I'm feeling that more and more as I'm getting more and more exposed, or having more and more influence on the internet or on Instagram. So that's where I'm going with my mind on this topic.
Thanks for sharing that, Paul. And that, I love how you brought that to light, how very often we will do more for others than we will for ourselves. And again, that's just a reality. I'm not saying it's good, bad, right, or wrong. It's just, that's the way it is. Very often, if we're just doing something for our own sake, what's the point? I'll settle for less. It's, you don't have the same expectations. Like, I'll give you a prime example. If you're going to make a meal just for yourself, or you're going to make a meal for the family, like, if it's just for you, I'll just slap something together. I'll just heat something up in the microwave or whatever. I don't care. It's just for me. But if you're having friends and family over, well, now I want to prepare a nice meal because I'm having friends and family over. Like, you'll do more for others than you will for yourself. And the same applies if you can put that same priority or importance on your health and fitness, that it's not just me that's benefiting from this. Other people are benefiting from it. I'm setting a positive example for my family. I'm setting a positive example for my social media followers. In your case, Paul, your friends in fitness at your church group, you're setting a positive example for them. By doing that, now you have that extra positive pressure, like, hey, people are counting on me to live up to practice what I preach. And that's, if you use that the right way, that can be very powerful to keep you on track and help you succeed. Because if it's just about you, sometimes we're like, what's the point? But when it's more than you, and you're looking out for the greater good, it really gives you that motivation. And I kind of went into that when I was doing my own whys. Like, some of the things there, I want to set a positive example for my followers. Like, I want to, I can't remember exactly what it was.
And why is that important? Positive
Yeah,
example, my son Harvey.
everything was just what. I want to look like a fitness coach who actually takes care of his health and fitness. I want people to respect me. I want to look attractive. I want to be able to hold my head high and stand out as someone who's in shape, as positive, healthy, energetic, and fit, rather than being embarrassed and self-conscious about being fat. Right? Like, I want to have that confidence in myself and also project that onto others as well. And the big one, ultimately, it's I want to set a positive example for my son. Right? I want him to grow up with these healthy habits and to see his dad as a real life role model of health and fitness. And unfortunately, a lot of people that I know, friends, family, neighbors, etc., they're overweight and out of shape. And as their kids grow up, guess what? The kids become overweight and out of shape. Right? I mean, I have relatives, and the husband is pushing 400 pounds. The wife, she's about 300 pounds. Their teenage daughter, she's well over 200 pounds already. She's 16 years old and she's dwarfs me. I mean, it's crazy, right? Like, I'm just under 200 pounds and I look small next to her, and she's 16 years old, right? I mean, it's just crazy, and that's a product of your environment, right? And that's just, I see this over and over again. Like, if you have overweight parents, guess what? Overweight parents are going to raise overweight kids. And it's not genetic I mean, don't get me wrong, there are some genetic traits there for sure, but it's the habits that they're passing on, not so much the the cellular DNA. It's the habits, because if we took those same people and put them in different environments, chances are we would get totally different results. Again, that goes back to what I mentioned earlier, the environment.
Right. Your story of where you were a physique athlete and then had that decline and then have recovered, that whole story gave birth to Fitness After 40, as we both know, as all of us know.
Yeah.
But when you went through that, you could identify with many of those people who come to you like, I used to be in high school and I've really fallen off the track or fallen off the wagon, and how can I get back? And you say, well, I've done that myself. But then you've brought on board people who have never known fitness in their whole life. And then you can point them to those people, their success stories, and say, you may not be like me, but let me point you to this person. So the community that you've created, the VIP community that we have, that has become one of my bigger whys.
Nice.
Because I know I'm going to have to report to these guys and say, how am I doing? And Paul, we haven't heard from you in like 5 months. What's going on? I'm expecting that sometime, maybe not 5 months, but over a period of time. And there's that sense of accountability that's been created because of the invitation you've given me to join the VIP group. That invitation has a powerful hook in it, because it draws you further and further up and further in to a supportive, nurturing, empowering environment. And when you're not paying attention to it, it will come back to sting you. It will come back to remind you that smack on the wrist, the carrot and the stick. Well, the carrot is, I see these excellent physiques and I want to be like that. The stick is, I'm not doing like that. There's going to be some words kindly said to me. So that's a good why as well. The community that you create becomes another why. I know I'm going to be accountable to these people.
Nice. And that's absolutely true. Your environment and the people who you associate yourself with makes a big difference. And a lot of times we don't have that in our personal space, our friends and family and neighbors. I mean, I don't. I mean, I'm a fitness coach, but like I'm the only person in my family who exercises consistently. Like most of them are like the typical, oh, I'm going to go back to the gym next month when work's not so busy, and I New Year's resolution rolls around, I'm going to go on a diet, and like I just, good for you. Right? I don't even try to correct or to coach or anything like that, because I know it's my words are like a fart in the wind. It's just going to be gone. Like it's like, because I was that guy early on in my fitness journey. I was always trying to help and coach and be everybody's hero. And I have quickly learned that if people are not ready to change themselves, I can't do the work for you. I can't be the change. And you have to be the change. You have to want to change yourself. And I can help you if you are ready, but I can't do it for you. And most people they're not ready, right? So with friends and family, like I don't even discuss fitness, nutrition, anything like that. I do not bring it up unless they start the conversation first. If they're genuinely interested, then yeah, I'll more than be happy to share that conversation. But I don't initiate it, because I've learned that the hard way. But with that being said, that brings me to my next point here, is to talk it out and to not suffer in silence. So if you're going through some struggling times, whether that is with your fitness or your nutrition, or maybe it's some mental health issues or whatever, talk it out. And this is something within our Master Health Certification program that really becomes more apparent. When people are struggling with their health and fitness and their diet and exercise and that stuff, it's rarely because of the diet and exercise. There's always something else that's causing that issue, right? Like that's where we see it on the surface. Like if people are overweight and out of shape and they've got poor lifestyle choices and they're overeating and lack of exercise, whatever, like, okay, we can just say, hey, try harder, diet harder, work out harder, don't be a lazy SOB or whatever. But that's not fixing anything, because there's usually something underneath that's causing that this is what they're reaching for, right? They're reaching for the food or the alcohol or whatever, that comfort, when there's something that they're trying to mask or take care of in a non-productive way. So if you are struggling, whether it's health and fitness or some other issue, talk it out. So talk to a friend. I mean, ask permission to vent your frustrations, get it out of your system. If you don't have friends and you don't feel it's something more serious, like it could be some mental issues or depression or whatever, reach out to some professional help, whether that's online through, you look into local doctors or therapists, or ask. I mean, get out there and find the help you need. And we've had people in our coaching community, again, I'm not going to mention any names, who have had to do that, have had to seek out therapists, because sometimes they come to me for fitness and nutrition coaching. And then when we get on our coaching calls, it's like, I'm not a therapist. Like, I can help you with your fitness and nutrition, and I can listen and try and guide you, but there's certain things that are outside my scope of practice. So if you have mental issues or things like that, depression issues, you need to see someone who's a professional in that area. And if that is the case, then by all means, seek out the help you need. Right. And simply talking about your challenges and your frustrations can very often be therapeutic, and just talking about it can help you to uncover the solutions versus keeping them bundled up inside and just burying them down deep. Just talking about, like, these coaching calls like we're having here, there's so much value that gets uncovered through these conversations, a lot of times unintentionally. Sometimes it's what I come into the conversation planning to talk about, and then we have a little side conversation that could end up being the most valuable part of the whole call. So sometimes it just organically happens, but talk about it. Don't suffer in silence. And this really applies to men, because to anyone out there who's suffering in silence, I want to share this quote that I got here. It says, please don't do so in silence, because no one wants to hear about it, or because you think you'll be a burden. I'd rather hear about your depression, your anxiety, your trauma, your struggle, than hear about your death. And this is something it's not a fun topic to talk about, but it's a big, serious one. And suicide is the biggest cause of death for men under the age of 45. I mean, just think about that. Suicide is the biggest cause of death for men under the age of 45. And men are 4 times more likely to commit suicide than women. So if you're suffering, you got stuff that you're dealing with, suffering in silence till the point where it just builds and builds and builds, almost like a pressure cooker, and you can't deal with it anymore, and then it just pops. Like, that's the reality for unfortunately, far too many people. And I'm sure we all know of people who have unfortunately gone down that road, and we don't want to see that happen. So this is serious, right? If you are suffering, by all means, get the help you need, whether it's through friends or family, or talk to somebody, and if needed, seek professional help as well, because this is something that is serious for sure. And it's not just all about health and fitness and 6-pack abs. This is about the quality of your life and the quality of life of everybody around you, your friends, your family, your neighbors, your network, everybody. All right, bringing this next topic here, take massive action. And this is another Tony Robbins quote, right? The path to success is to take massive, determined action. And action beats anxiety, work beats worry, motion beats meditation. Like, getting off your butt and actually doing something is the key to making progress. But this comes with another little caveat here, is I want to make a note that it's okay to start small. Doing something is better than nothing. Because sometimes when we say this, like if you listen to Tony Robbins or you go to some motivational success thing, and you'll hear these big, powerful words and like, take massive action, go all in, rah, rah. Sometimes people say, well, I'm not ready to go all in, or I'm not ready to take massive action yet. And they almost like, well, if I can't take the massive action, if I can't do it perfectly, then I'm not going to do anything at all. But it's okay to dip your toe in the water and take baby steps, something's better than nothing. Avoid that all or nothing trap, and give yourself permission to do something every day to move closer towards your goals. Something's better than nothing. And for me, I've got a few little somethings that I do every day. Like, one is I have to exercise every day. Now, it's not always going to the gym and doing a full-on workout. It could be as simple as I'm going to walk around the block, or I'm going to do some stretching at home, or I'm going to go for a bicycle ride, or do some cardio on my cardio machine at home, or something. I'm going to get off my butt and move. That's my minimum requirement. And it's very rare that I don't get off my butt and move. I mean, there have been some days where I haven't, whether I was just extra busy at work or travel or tired or whatever, or sick. But most days I'm exercising. In fact, I kept track of it in 2022. I think I had 315 days of structured exercise, 315 days out of 365. So that's pretty darn good. Like that's 6 days a week if we average it out. Like that's pretty darn good. If you're doing 6 days a week, you're on track. But do something. And even when it comes to the nutrition, even if it's simple as I'm going to have protein and veggies with my meals, prioritize protein and veggies. Like even if I'm not counting calories and tracking macros and MyFitnessPaling it, hey, I can have a serving of protein. I can make sure to get a serving of vegetables. Make sure that that's in there. Focusing on sleep. Paul already mentioned that earlier, the importance of quality sleep and self-care. Like just do something that's going to move you towards your goals. Take action. We can say take massive action or just take action in general, right? I know Tony Robbins likes to say take massive action because it sounds big, but sometimes the word massive could scare some people. So take action. All right, next one. Don't beat yourself up. This is something we have to address because a lot of times if we take action and we fail or we have some struggles or we're in a rut, we tend to beat ourselves up. And I want you to reframe that. If you're struggling, that means you're trying. Because if you weren't trying, you wouldn't be struggling. So the fact that you're struggling to begin with, that you're frustrated from your lack of progress or whatever, that's a good sign. Like we could reframe that and say, well, that means we are taking positive action. We're putting positive pressure to improve. That's actually a good thing. Like if you look at even in school, like if a student is nervous because an exam is coming up, well, that's actually a good thing. That means you care enough to actually put some effort into it, or you have that positive pressure that you want to do well. If you weren't nervous about the exam, he's like, I don't care. Like the likelihood of you actually doing well on it is slim to none. Like we can reframe nerves and this anxiety or whatever into excitement. And this is something I've learned when I was doing a lot of public speaking work, like through my years at Toastmasters, or anytime I've had to do speaking engagements, like I MC at our local bodybuilding competitions now. And a lot of times, like that's, the fear of public speaking is the greatest fear out there. And a lot of times when people will be talking to me backstage or something like, oh man, aren't you scared? Like there's a big crowd out there tonight. Like, are you scared to go out there on stage? Are you nervous? And I would say, you know what? I've learned to reframe nervous as excitement. So I change it and I just reframe it. And instead of having that nervous energy, now I have an excitement energy, and that actually helps to fuel me. So kind of reframe this thing. Instead of beating yourself up, because you're struggling, look at it as a positive. Reframe it in that you're struggling. That means you're trying. That's a good thing. Keep trying. And I like this quote here. No matter how slow you go, you're still lapping everybody on the couch. So if you're struggling, it doesn't matter, right? Like the fact that you're trying, the fact that you're doing something, you are miles ahead of everybody who's not trying, right? So celebrate the fact that you're trying. Another one that I want to address here, if you're struggling, ask your coach. Like that's what you're in this whole coaching program for to begin with. And ironically, most people only reach out to me when things are going well, but they tend to keep quiet when they're struggling. And I want to let you know that you have my permission to reach out to me regardless if things are going good or bad. And a nice quote here from Les Brown. He says, ask for help, not because you are weak, but because you want to remain strong. Again, another reframe on it. As guys, it's sometimes hard to ask for help. And I'm as guilty as anybody for this. I've went through times where I'm afraid to ask for help, or I'm embarrassed to ask for help. Like I should know this already. And this applies, I'll be totally transparent, especially with my fitness business. Like I have a fitness business coach who's helping me, and I have other coaches who are helping me. And the ironic thing is I've been in the fitness industry longer than my coaches have in some cases. But I'm learning from them because sometimes I've gotten to the point where I didn't want to ask for help because I figured, well, I've been doing this so long, I should know this already. But you need to ask for help. Like it's asking for help is not a sign of weakness. It's actually a sign of strength, being able to ask for help. And that's something that I've had to learn the hard way. So again, I'm giving everyone permission. I know, like Paul and Mike, you guys don't hesitate if you need to reach out, but for everyone who's watching the replay of this, if you are struggling, whether it's with your workouts, your nutrition, or your things are just not going the way you want, and maybe you're embarrassed to reach out saying like, oh, I wasn't following that workout routine that Lee prescribed for me, or I wasn't following the meal plan. Oh, I'm just going to keep quiet and pretend he doesn't notice or whatever and think everything's okay, suffer in silence, all that. No, if it's not going good, if it's not to where you want it to be, reach out. Because sometimes you could be struggling with something that for someone who's more experienced, who has that insights and that knowledge, it could be a massive burden and a massive struggle and a massive problem for you. And it could be a little, oh, just do this for someone who knows what they're doing. If you've ever had computer tech issues, you could be struggling on your freaking computer and saying, I can't get this thing to work. I can't get this program to load. I can't, and you could spend all day and frustrate the heck out of yourself, or you could bring it to a computer tech and he might be 5 minutes, there, problem fixed. Like that's what a coach does. Like sometimes we can't see our problems. We can't, because we're so embellished in it and we're so emotionally attached and everything else. But someone from that outside perspective who has the experience, something that you've been struggling with for days or weeks or months, they might be able to fix it and reframe it in a matter of minutes. So don't be afraid to ask.
I'm glad that Mike is here, because when he posts to the VIP group, I pay very close attention to his ups and downs. That, Mike, your transparency and your honesty to reflect on the struggles you have and the victories as well, but the struggles has been very instructive for me as well. So I'm very grateful that you do that. And I'm honored. I want to praise you for that, because without those moments of where you call it griping, those moments inform me that it's okay to talk about those things, because no one is jumping down your throat for it. I came from an environment where that was the case. If you complained about things, do all things without grumbling and complaining. And I'm just going, okay, I give up, so, but being there with you or being there with the posts that you make are very helpful.
Thanks for bringing that up, Paul.
Well, and most of the times, if I complain about something like that, somebody has already dealt with it before, and maybe they have a suggestion to get over that frustration or whatever that problem is.
And even if somebody hasn't, the mere voicing of that becomes the platform from which things can be discovered, things can be discussed. Even though no one in the group may have encountered it at that time is still going to go on. Their progress in fitness is still going to continue, and that pitfall may come. And so that being brave enough to confront, to experience it or explain it to the group in general, there is somewhere some degree of wisdom. But I often trust Lee's insights, because he's been at this for longer than I've been alive in some ways.
Not quite, but I appreciate that.
Yeah, but the background, like you started when you were a young boy. Right, reading all those magazines, which are really an adventure, but reading these books and experience and meeting these people and getting this corpus of wisdom from all these people. So that's why I turn to you, not because you're the know-it-all, but you have the background and the wisdom and the maturity to weigh the things that need to be said and to withhold the things that I'll say those later as he's coming into this situation. So that's why I ask you as my coach, not because I can't do the research myself, but there's deeper wisdom in there that has to be explored.
Nice. That actually brings up another point that I want to address too. And this was something that I learned from my coaches and mentors, is it's powerful to say you don't know something, because versus the opposite of pretending you know something and then having it come out later on that you don't know. And I'll give you a prime example of this. This happened to me just recently. We're in the market now to buy a new car, because our car that we have now is, thanks to the good old Canadian winters and salted roads, it's rusting out. In Canada, cars don't wear out, they rust out. And that's the truth of the matter with our car. So the frame on it's getting very rusty, and last time I brought it to the garage, the mechanic said, hey, even though it's low mileage and everything else, you got to start looking for a new car because the frame is getting weak, right? It's starting to rust out. I said, okay. I was kind of aware of that anyway, but once he confirmed it, then I said, okay, we got to go looking for a new car. So anyway, I'm looking for a minivan that has seats that are removable. That's what I wanted, right? And we actually went to the car dealership, and there we were looking at a vehicle. And I asked the salesman who came out helping us, I said, now, are the seats removable in this? And they said, the reason why I want seats removable, because I do a lot of cycling and stuff, and I want to be able to remove the seats so I can put my bikes in the back of the car if needed. And he said, oh, the seats don't come out of this one. And I said, are you sure? I said, I watched a YouTube video today of somebody taking the seats out of the car. And I said, I want to actually see it and try it with the display model, the one that you have here. He said, no, seats don't come out of that. He says, and I said, I watched a YouTube video today, someone showing me that the seats don't come out. And he said, oh, it must be a different model. He said, it must be like a US model of the car or something like that. But the ones we have here, the seats don't come out of them. And he was adamant about it. I said, okay, sure, whatever. And he said, we went through the whole sales rigmarole. And then he said, do you want to take it for a test drive? And I said, yes, I do. So I took it for a test drive, and I pulled into a parking lot just down the road. And I got out my phone, watched the YouTube video of how to take the seats out. I took the seats out of the car myself and put them back in again. And it was very simple to do. I mean, I had to watch the video because it was a bit frustrating, but snaps in and out. And then I went back to the dealer, and I said, that salesman, I said, you know what? Those seats actually do come out of the car. You're telling me that they don't. And I said, I did it. I had the freaking seats out and I put them back in. So instead of him just manning up, and then when I asked him, do the seats come out of the car? And instead of saying, I don't know. Or in this case, even if he thought they didn't come out, maybe he said, I'm not sure. But I told him, I said, I watched a YouTube video this morning of somebody taking the seats out of the car and putting them back in. And instead of saying, well, okay, well, maybe they do, I don't know, like, entertain the customer. Like they always say, the customer is always right. And in this case, he actually was. But the salesman was adamant that they didn't. So it just made me realize this guy doesn't know jack crap about the car that he's trying to sell me. But he lost all credibility with me in that situation. So if you don't know something, admit you don't know. And actually, that gives you more credibility and more respect versus trying to be the know-it-all and then have it come out later on that you don't know what you're talking about. So when I do my Q&As and when I'm teaching people or coaching people or whatever, like one of the things that I do now on my live Q&As that I do on YouTube, I say, okay, I've been doing this for over 30 years, but I don't claim to be a know-it-all. Right? I don't. If I can help you, I will. But if I can't, I'll try and point you in the right direction to somebody who can. Right? But that's powerful for everybody. I mean, regardless of what industry or niche you're in, being able to say that you don't know, it doesn't diminish you or make you lose credibility. It actually helps you gain respect with people because they know you're not going to bullshit them. And that's what a lot of people who claim to be the know-it-alls, once we get to know them, they're full of BS and you lose credibility. So there's no shame in saying, I don't know. It's a very powerful statement. And that's something we did a whole session on that in the Master Health Certification. And I've had other coaches and mentors share it as well. All right. So again, if you need help, ask your coach. And if I know, I'll point you in the right direction. And if I don't, then I'll try and find someone or some resources that can help you. And moving on to our top 10, the 10th one, this is going to make or break your success. Refuse to quit. If you can adopt that mindset, refuse to quit, your success is inevitable because there's only one thing that's going to stop you from success, is quitting. If you don't quit, then success is inevitable. So like if you're stuck in a rut, like that is no reason to quit. Winners are not those who never fail, but those who never quit. And it's okay to rest if needed. Like if you're feeling burnt out or fatigued or whatever, it's okay to give yourself a rest, but not quit. And this is a big one. Refuse to quit. And, a couple of quotes that I just want to share there. If you want to see the sunshine, you have to weather the storm. And another one that's really applies to this, a smooth sea never made for a skilled sailor. Like when things are going great and smooth and easy and there's no struggles, like that's not where the change is happening. It's when you're going through rough times, when you're going through those challenges and being able to keep going despite that, learn from those mistakes, and to keep moving forward, refusing to quit, that's where you come out the other side. And that's where the real transformation takes place. And I mean, even going back to, like, think of every good movie or every good book. Was it, oh, here's our hero, and he wanted to do something and it was totally easy. He just went out and did it in the end. Like, no, there was always the challenges. You have to go through the hero's journey. And think of your struggles and challenges. That's your hero's journey. If it wasn't if you didn't go through the challenges and the obstacles and everything else along the way, your story would be pretty darn boring. There'd be no adventure, right? You need to go through those ups and downs in order to fully develop your character and in order to fully embrace and enjoy the experience. I mean, the victory is so much sweeter when you go through the challenges and struggles versus, oh, I'll just try this. No, that was easy. Next. Right? You won't truly appreciate it. You got to hit rock bottom sometimes in order to appreciate the victory at the end. And I know
Phrase, got to hit rock bottom.
Mm-hmm.
is something that has occurred in so many people's lives that I've heard, but also in mine.
Yeah.
Before meeting you, I lost my friend James. Before that, Mehdi, they both graduated, and I didn't know what to do. And I thought, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to continue my life. I don't know how to keep this training up. I'm not sure if I'm doing it the right way. And I was very close to giving up. But when I wandered into your face or your website and saw you with that workout exercise, that workout video was what turned me around. That just the exercises you did from top to bottom made me realize, here's a man that sounds like the trainer that I used to have. And that's how I stuck. That's what brought me in. But I was at rock bottom, Lee. I wanted to quit because I thought, I'm not getting better. I'm not getting stronger. I'm not looking like these two amazing men. I must be doing everything wrong. Maybe it's best to hang it up and just go home. And I'm really glad that I just spent those few minutes just wandering around and finding someone with a sensitive soul, a caring soul. And you're remarkable in that regard, Lee. Absolutely remarkable. You're head and shoulders above many other fitness influencers I know who fixate on how beautiful they are, but you are more concerned on turning us to become beautiful. So I wanted that out there. I want that VIP circle to know, people, you have found an incredible person. Hang on to this guy, because he is going to take you to places you never thought possible. And that's why I could do that fitness challenge, that body transformation challenge. And that's why I can go onto the physique stage. And I know full well, I'm going to get blown off the stage. That's not what's keeping me there on crack. That's my milestone. And I'm going to go there to celebrate being 70, not to celebrate being awesome. Right? Who knows how awesome I will become? But that's my journey. Who's got coaching me along the way? Who's encouraging me along the way? Hello, his name is Lee. So I'm not, because you're there to help us all keep on track. I don't want to, the word quit has almost vanished from my vocabulary. But the word persist has gained greater and greater prominence. Keep going. Keep going. It may take longer, but keep going. That diastasis recti is horrible, Lee. It's the most frustrating condition you have ever experienced, one could ever experience. I thought I had it whipped, and then one exercise, and there it is. And then my physiotherapist says, well, you're going to have it for at least 5 years. I went, are you serious? And he says, well, look at the damage you've done. It's going to take your body a while to compress all those muscles, the linea alba together. And I'm going, I've got a bodybuilding competition to happen in less than a year. How can you tell me this? And he says, well, did you thought of postponing it for 5 years so you can, win a medal? And that's when it hit me. My attitude was I wanted to win a medal rather than I want to do my best. And that's what caused me to rethink and reframe. And then you mentioned how mastery goals versus performance goals is so important. So I'm now pursuing it with a mastery goal in mind as opposed to a performance goal in mind. And that's made all the difference.
That is powerful. And I always appreciate your insights and for sharing that. I mean, it really brings this full circle. When I look at a lot of successful people, like everyone has gone through their challenges and their struggles and their ups and downs. Like whenever I love reading biographies and interviews and just hearing the struggles of people who've done remarkable things. And when you get to learn who these people are, very often, like yeah, they may have some talents and skills, obviously, but they're regular people. Like they go through the same struggles and challenges and mental hurdles and family stress and everything, financial difficulties, whatever. Like they go through the same stuff that everybody goes through. It's just they learn to persist and not quit. Look for a solution rather than an excuse. Can I hang on one more day? Can I endure? Can I keep going? Can I find a way around it? Or can I find someone who can help me to endure or help me get around this? And it's just having the mindset, I'm going to continue on no matter what. If there's a will, there's a way. And just having that mindset instead of always looking for a reason to quit. And a lot of times, even within this coaching program, I've seen it over and over again. Sometimes you'll get people on a high when they're all full of piss and vinegar and they're excited and they're like, I'm going to do this and I'm going to turn things around. And then 2 months later, it's, oh, this sucks. I'm, blah, blah, blah. I will quit. I don't want to do this anymore. Because whatever, so something happened, and sometimes it could be something minor, sometimes it could be something major, but like we can reframe everything. Right? I see this a lot. Like people look for the excuse to quit rather than the reason to persist. And if you just can have that refuse to quit mindset, it makes all the difference. It really does. Because again, the only reason that someone is going to fail is if they quit on themselves. That's the only reason, right? I mean, like, I'm not going to quit on you. I've never quit on a coaching student yet. I've had a lot of people quit the program, but I've never quit on a coaching student. And I've been doing this for over 30 years. So like, based on my track record, I haven't quit in over 30 years. I'm probably not going to quit within the next couple of years. So I'm not going to quit on you. Please don't quit on yourself. If you refuse to quit, then success is inevitable, because we can manipulate the variables, whether it's the workouts or the nutrition or this, like, it's the mindset like that. This is the hardest part of it. And that's what I've really come to grasp with this Precision Nutrition Master Health Certification program I'm doing. All the other stuff, it's just variables. We can manipulate variables and find ways around it and everything else, but you have to have the mindset first, right? The mindset that, hey, I'm in this for the long haul. I'm going to find a way to persist and refuse to quit. And once you have that mentality, the rest is easy. It really is. Like I've mentioned this before, like the hardest part of working out is getting to the gym and stepping in the door. Once you're inside the gym, the rest is coasting downhill. You've done the hardest part. You're there. The hardest part is just putting yourself in that right mindset. And if you can have that mindset, then the rest is easy. So that concludes our presentation, guys. Again, thank you so much for sharing your insights. I mean, you add a lot of value to this, and I'm going to get ready to include it up because I know Mike's got a boat to catch.
Yep.
Very soon. And I'm looking forward to hearing some stories about your adventure and some pictures and all that. So, I mean, please.
I'll be sharing pictures. I most definitely will.
Just out of curiosity, like, where are you guys heading to? Like, it's obviously a cruise ship of Asia, I would assume. So where is it
Yeah,
heading?
it's the actual cruise is southern Japan, and we have 2 stops in Taiwan as well.
Oh,
I don't remember all the various ports that we're going to.
yeah.
But it's my son's, I won't say graduation present so much, but he just finished his veterinary degree and he wasn't able to go on the last 2 family cruises. So we let him choose. He chose this particular cruise.
So I'm envious, and I'm looking forward to following along with your pictures and journeys.
Being retired has its benefits. Let's put it that way.
And the thing is, you're healthy enough to enjoy it, because there's a lot of people who are retired who have the financial means to do so, but they don't have the physical means to mean the health and the fitness.
Well, it's pretty funny because I follow a couple of different cruise line pages associated with the ship that we're going on, or the cruise line that we're on. And somebody had posted the other day about being careful about the steep gangway. And it showed there was, I think it was 9 people in there, and there was only 2 people that looked like they were in good physical condition. And I get what they're saying. Yes, they are slippery, but I was just looking at the picture and it was just striking to me. Part of their challenges is because of their physical condition.
Yeah, I know, Paul, you see this with your seniors group at church you're working with. And again, you're taking action to help these people, but that is a serious issue. And it's crazy. Like my mother, I've mentioned this before, my mother was having some health issues now. And we were talking to her today. She's having issues with her heart. She's having issues with breathing. she got in the bathtub yesterday and she couldn't get out of the bathtub. Like she was in there, she's God knows how long. Eventually she mustered up enough strength to kind of like pull and roll herself over the side. Like she didn't have strength enough to stand up in the bathtub. And I just think, like, my God, like that's scary.
Boy, it gets scarier, Lee. Imagine
know?
being able to get up from the toilet.
Right? I mean,
Right. That's not only, I mean, the bathtub, there's nakedness, but with the toilet, there's a greater degree of humiliation because of what you've left behind. And there's there's that real sense of despair, like I can't even get up out of the toilet. People have bars set up within by their toilet area and in their shower. And I had them installed when we first moved into the house that we were in then about 7 years ago, when I was in my very bad obese state. And I had special bars put in because I had no balance. So I'd hold on to the bar in order to take a shower. I had one hand on the bar and one hand on the shower, and I was still tippy. So I understand that firsthand. So in order to teach them mobility, I'm very sensitive about the mobility exercises we do every single day. Every single time we're together, I work on some mobility. One of the happiest moments of my life, very small gain, was not having to hold my breath to tie my shoes.
wow. And that really puts things in perspective. You know?
Oh, it's huge. And the other one was being able to stand upright in a kind of crane position and put on one sock at a time without toppling over.
Mm-hmm.
Those two moments were pivotal for me when I went, this is exciting. I'm getting healthier, better, stronger, more mobile. And that was a huge moment for me. And I passed it on to my seniors. One of them very happily said, I got up out of the chair without having to push off on the arms. I just simply stood up. And I said, there's a gain for you.
That's a huge win. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
So celebrate those small wins. I mean, very few people in our VIP group may be in that state, but they know people around them that are.
Mm-hmm.
And being sensitive to their journey, their physique journey, is key to expand this excitement of, this has happened to me, it can happen to you. We preach by example. You preached by word, but we preach by example. And the phrase, I'd rather be a sermon than tell a sermon. I'd rather preach the gospel from my heart with my actions and simply just tell people the story. Francis said the same thing. Preach the gospel, and then if necessary, use words.
Nice. That is powerful.
Right.
Nice.
So that's the sense of, and it is good news. It is good. Wellness is good news. It is truly a gospel. And that's why I love this group, because I get enthused to go out into my week and say, guys, we're a great group. Let's be amazing.
That's awesome. Well, Paul, I think you did a great job. We'll wrap it up on that. I have nothing more to add. That was preach the gospel, and occasionally we'll use words.
I have learned more about my nutrition in the last 5 to 6 months with you than I have learned in my entire time of trying this out. Not only you, but from all the guys in the group. I am at my lowest weight and I feel better than I ever have. Composition wise, I feel better than I ever have. And I think a lot of that really comes down to learning how to eat, looking at food differently and looking how to eat and why you're eating at a certain time and stuff. Right. That's what I've learned more than I ever did before.
It's a completely different life. I think the initial reservations I had was I would have to give up my life that I thought was so great, when in actuality it really wasn't that great. Staying up late and drinking and eating whatever I wanted and being that heavy and out of shape and everything. Like, I don't know why there was any kind of reservation of like, oh no, I don't want to give this up. I don't want to give this up, because looking back, this is a completely different life and it's a completely better life.
This has become my life. I get up because I'm going to work out. I'm an athlete of aging. I'm a master's athlete, and and athletes eat well. Athletes train well. Athletes take care of their bodies. It's a new identity.
I feel like a different person. I look at my body and sometimes I'm like, wow, I look pretty good. And I'm really I really appreciate my body now. There's room for improvement. I'm still human. I could be better. But I look at myself, I'm like, I feel good. I'm comfortable with me.
Yeah, that I think really is why your program spoke to me so much. Is this isn't a diet. This is just a lifestyle change.
Once again, I'll keep hammering this point home: is this is sustainable. And honestly, too, just from a coaching standpoint, you do a really good job of being accessible to the group members. That I have access to you, and I know I can schedule in my monthly coaching call, and you're going to help me out. But I know in between those scheduled calls, if I need something, it's a Facebook Messenger message, and you're going to get back to me as quickly as you can and help me out. If it's something really pressing, you'll even take the time to record a video and send us the video if it needs to be addressed like that. You're there for support. Considering the support side of the program is probably as important, if not more important, than the actual weightlifting and nutrition side of things. From that standpoint, we've got a great program as far as the nutrition and the weightlifting side goes, but we've got a coach that's there for you to help you when you need it. So that's why I think I've seen so many guys in the program have the success that they have had or they are currently having. We've got the right things there, the right tools, all that they need to succeed, but we've got the support in place.
It was pretty amazing this morning when I jumped on the scale. I had lost a pound because my goal is now in the next 2 weeks is to try to get to the 240s. And I was 251 this morning. And when I entered into my Fitbit, which I got right here, just kind of waiting, all of a sudden it popped up an update. Congratulations on your 100-pound weight loss.
Wow. Oh, shit. So you didn't even know it.
I didn't know, because I wasn't tracking, right? Like I said, this is the lightest I've been in over 30 years. So, I mean, it's quite an achievement. I can't remember the last time I seen 250.
Well, I mean, I'm looking forward to continuing on with the journey and seeing that progress happen even more.
Well, thanks, Lee. It's been a pleasure, and I can't wait to see what the future holds. I really can't.